Welcome back. You are watching The Core, coming to you live from Channels Television Studios in Abuja, Nigeria, and we're talking about restructuring. I want to quickly look at a few tweets that we're getting from people who are watching this at home. Mr. Israel Odita has sent a message asking how come there's no Northerner on this panel. It's not for lack of trying. We did invite the governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasru El-Rufai. Well, no, he was talking about Core North, what he called the Core North. And he said he was going to come, but he cancelled last minute because something came up that he couldn't deal with. So it's important to say we did invite the chairman of the APC, but I think he's done a decent job of representing his party. So now Uche Obi says that the clamor for restructuring is evidence of progressive failure of governance, and it continues to gain momentum. Olusoji Olamoyegun says restructuring is the key to jettison injustice in the name of federal character. Daniel Nomisham says it is true that a lot is not working, which means we have to change the approach. I agree totally with Tokwe Fashua. And Emmanuel Akman says Nigeria will benefit from restructuring in areas like state police, ownership of resources, weaker center, true fiscal federalism, debt management, job creation, and an enabling environment for investors. In fact, it is a win-win situation for all of Nigeria. Okay, quickly to the audience, and then I'll come back to the panel to try and wrap this up. Your name, please.
Okay, my name is Amanda Chisum. I feel like enough have been said about restructuring since 2014 during the confab, but there is still that lack of political will, like everybody had said. So I'm just going to ask the member of the parliament, what is the commitment of the parliament to ensuring that there is accommodation for referendum? Because at the end of the day, we have a major issue here. The people have not spoken. A lot of people do not even know what restructuring means. The basic man at the street, just like you keep saying, the people at the village level, they don't even know what we're talking about. It seems to be an English between the intelligentsias and the political elite. So how do we send these messages across to the people at the grassroots level about the need to restructure and how it affects them? What is the commitment of the parliament towards making sure that referendum is included in our constitution?
Thank you. The gentleman in the pink tie. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Temitope Atiba. I'd just like to take it immediately from the point where it seems that we have a problem with the incremental approach to amending the Constitution. I don't think that should be a problem now. What we have is the 1999 Constitution, and we have to be looking ahead. We don't need to go back to where we're coming from. So first and foremost, the incremental approach to amending the Constitution is all right. What we need is the will to get those to approach the exclusive and the concurrent legislative lists and look at the things that affect us. There are two major issues that are pivotal in determining the big picture of what we want to do, which are the economy. That is what is in the pocket of Nigerians, and secondly, security. When we get these two right, we can decide on which side of the divide we want each factor, each item on the list to be. So, for instance, if we get our economy right, it devolves directly into resource control. If we decide that we want to have resource control, how do we want to have this resource control? Do we want a situation whereby the states own the resources and pay a royalty to government, or do we want a situation whereby the federal government still handles the resources but pays a higher percentage to the states so that they have more to amend? And also, I must say that the 8th Assembly has done really well in the area of this restructuring and constitutional amendments. What we need now is for the party and the legislators, because the APC has a lot more legislators in the parliament.
Well, okay.
Well,
you heard today's news, right?
I am not into that. I'm just saying that I think that if they can harmonize their position, we'll probably be able to achieve more in restructuring the country.
There's an issue he raised here, and which I think the Deputy Senate President referenced, which is this incremental tweaking. But he did say that it is possible actually for us to amend the clause that allows for tweaking to allow for a complete overhaul of the Constitution if we choose to. And the question is whether, again and again, there's the political will to do so. And maybe when the panel comes back, they can speak to us about that. Anybody else that needs, yes, the gentleman in green, and then we'll come back to the panel.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jude Ferrami. I'm former National Youth Leader for COA Party. Right. And I think to a very large extent, my uncle here has been saying the idea of restructuring is coming to play. And I think someone who also mentioned on Twitter said the idea of restructuring is coming to play because of the failure of this government, which is evident to everybody. Apologies to the Honorable from APC. But a lot of things I want to say, but two things come to mind. Restructuring is now a buzzword. It's like a big pot analogy. It's a big pot on fire, and everybody wants to throw whatever it is that they want cooking on it. So you're looking at representation of women. My uncle from Anambra State is also talking about creation of states. A lot of people are talking about different things. Before restructuring became a buzzword, what happened, what we're debating was what role is the federal government supposed to be playing in this federal, in quote, Republic of Nigeria? What role are the states supposed to be playing? Why should an IG in Abuja be protecting somebody in Benue and the community does not have a policing system of its own? Why should Lagos have a port and there are two other different ports in, for example, Calabar and River State, and it's not working? So it was about the devolution of political and economic powers to the governors. The governors are not responsible for anything, and again, that's one. Secondly,
and very quickly,
Nigerian constitution is a lie. It is. It starts with we, the people, give ourselves this constitution. Where did, if my whole uncle, where do we, the people, come together to do that? So we should be able to say our constitution is not working. Are we going to get a wholesale constitution, a new one entirely, and say, okay, put up a referendum, for example, and say, do we want a new constitution? That's another debate entirely. Okay. But our constitution is a lie. It does not work. Okay,
let's leave it there because I have to come back to the panel, and this will probably be sort of your final touch. So there are a number of things if you could respond to some of the comments that have been made. But I'd also like to get from you sort of specifics about how do we bring a restructuring to realization, given all the desperate comments we've had and how we're very different. And maybe if we could start with you and go to Dokwe, and then I'll end with people who are actually in government, if that's okay. Mr. Miller and then the senator. Huh? No. You're taking them out soon. Okay. Okay, yes, Doctor.
Once again, viewers, the Voice of Reason has done a great service to Nigeria by distilling all that we have all been saying this evening. Everything you have been saying, small government, responsible government, lean federal civil service, provision to guide against corruption, even autonomy of the regions to do, whether you want provinces, whether you want states, whether you are free to do what you like in your own region. We have brought a document now. It's a raw material for any time the government wants to do something concrete.
Let me ask you a quick question. You know, there are people who say actually this constitution could work if we had politicians who were real leaders.
Yeah.
And so really you can go and change the system, but if you don't change the quality of the people, it's going to be the same problem. Quickly respond to that and let's...
Basically, you see, we are all emasculated. Nigerians go to UK, you start behaving because of the environment. Go to United States, you just change from being a Nigerian immediately. When we change the framework, the structure of the way we relate, Abuja is no longer the center of power. The document we have is
You've done enough advertising for
No, absolutely, because it will save all the effort we have been dissipating on this panel.
I have two things to say. Number one, to let you know that this restructuring thing is a 1999 to date phenomenon. Before 1999, Nigeria actually used to restructure, right? So we had a different structure in 1960 to until the guys from the military truncated it. Then the military guys came. It was a different kind of structure. And if I remember in the Babangida days, the guy would always change ministers and change structure and bring new names and all of that. And then we came into 1999. Since 1999 to date, we've been static. And that is why people are agitating. So in 1999 to date, we've just had a scenario where the guys who came in have entrenched themselves. When people even talk about the youth are not in politics, the youth are not in I tell them the youth are in politics. The point is that when the youth come in politics, they remain in politics, right? And until they become old, the same guys who came in 1999. so now the point is that, that's the point. Let's get that very right. So we don't conflate issues. No. The second issue I'd like to tackle very, very sharply is that the best thing to do is this piecemeal amendment. Let's attack the 68 list thing that we're talking about.
One by one.
Let's look at what we can take out really fully, take out power fully. Listen, the future of power is actually alternative energy and mini grids and microgrids. You know, because why is this important?
The legislature, let me just
remind you one second.
In your summation, I have 5 minutes.
Just one second. The legislature will not take out itself. They will not take their other themselves, and these governors will also not cooperate. So the best we can do is chip away at their powers. Thank you.
Honorable.
Okay, let me start very quickly, if you will let me, Kadria, just answer a question.
You have 2 minutes.
Okay, very quickly. The report by the committee was something that was done independent of the National Assembly, where we have the majority of the APC members. Now, that can only be answered by the chairman of the committee why it hasn't been brought to the National Assembly, because some of us are agitating for it to be brought. 1. 2, very quickly. Now, the piecemeal approach is the best way, in our own opinion, to approach the issue of restructuring at this moment, because of the fact that there are too many contentions, too many agitations. We have to look at what we can address. The primary role of government, as enshrined in our Constitution, security and welfare of the people. What can we do immediately to provide succor to our people? And that is put resources in their hands. Devolution of powers, revenue allocation, we have to revisit that. Fiscal federalism, these are all the things that we need to immediately approach, right? Okay. Exactly. And then, of course, giving the people a real voice by that referendum. And it's something, somebody asked that question, we have the political will to do it. So
why can't you use the current arrangements to build in a referendum clause into the Constitution?
Now, those are all part of the processes that are still in the works.
Okay.
Remember, we have other members. Yes, we have other members of other parties too. And that is where, finally, Karia, one last thing. Nigerians need to always stop abdicating their responsibilities. Leadership is the problem we have in this country. Summary. Where changes occur is leadership. Choose the right people at every level.
Okay, Senator?
This issue of constitutional amendment, whether piecemeal or wholesale, will be discussed another day. Because if you go through the process of constitutional amendment in this country, going by the constitution you have, you will be wasting your time. I'll close that one. The structure we have today is promoting laziness in Nigeria. And those people who are opposed to restructuring will agree to restructuring Sunday. When the oil finishes, everybody will submit to restructuring. It is because we come to share money from oil, and those who think that they have advantage of size, they take much money, they say, oh, leave it like this. Nobody should tamper with it. Once that money is not there, everybody will sit up and say, let's restructure. And I want to tell you something very important. All this noise about not going back to the old ways is based on not fully appreciating what was here before. Because if you understood that before now, various regional economies were doing very well. Industries were built, institutions of higher learning were built everywhere, ABU's area, across Nigeria. Okay. Today, we cannot do anything meaningful. And if we want to continue to run this structure, there will be no development in this country. We need to make the federating units stronger by releasing the resources to them. The federal government has little things to do, external defense, customs, immigration, and things like that, and leave the engine room on development on the hands of the federating units.
Okay.
This is the only thing that can save this country.
Thank you very much. We have run out of time. We have run out of time. We have run out of time. I have to say thank you to the panelists. and to those, of course, who came to the studio to join us, as well as people who took part in the conversation from their homes. We also want to thank Center for Democracy and Development for making this conversation possible. Next week, I will be having another conversation on Twitter on restructuring, and so we can carry on talking. The next edition, of course, of The Core is next month. Don't forget to join us. Take care, and God bless.